Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am going to be creating a card featuring some new products from the Essentials by Elle line. This May 2018 release is full of fabulous things, and I thought I'd walk you through the entire release real quick before I get started with the card. First up is the Mondo Sakura, and I'll be using this in today's card. This is in addition to the Mondo line, which is all of these big, beautiful floral images that Julie has designed. You can see that the coordinating dies also have a couple of sentiment dies that are absolutely beautiful. Next up is the Totally Random Sayings Volume 2. I love these because it has those big, bold block letters that are perfect for like ombre stamping. And then you also have this beautiful delicate script that you can kind of overlay over those. And I'll show you a card over on my blog featuring these. So next up is the Plaid Maker. You have this wonderful buffalo check here on the bottom, the squares at the top where you can build your own, and then some fabulous thinner lines that you can kind of overlay or use on their own. Next up is the Block Words die set, and I love these because they're perfect for like windows, or you can actually use the positive part of these die cuts to create little letters for the fronts of your cards. This is the classic Block Alpha die set, and this is very similar to the hinged die set that was released by Julie, but these do not have hinges. They just cut out the entire letter, and I'm going to be using those in today's card as well. Finally, in the May 2018 release is the Parcel box, and I love boxes and bag dies, but what I'm really excited about actually in this is all of these little dies that come with it that are fabulous for embellishing cards and adding little accents. Now, along with the May 2018 release, there is also a new bundle, and I thought I would walk you through that quickly as well. First up in the bundle is the clear plastic sheets from the Essentials by Elle line. This is my favorite acetate. I do not believe that it's heat resistant, but it is like the perfect weight. It is super clear, and I always have some of this on hand for shaker cards. Next up in the bundle is the My Favorite Things Star Stencil, perfect for inking techniques or even embossing. You can emboss with stencils like this. And then finally, we have all of the fun little embellishments. First up is this Satin Confetti Mix from Studio Katia, perfect for shaker cards. It kind of goes with all of these sentiments that are in here. And then there's a couple of these iridescent stars from HAI. It's in the black. The black has multiple sizes, and then the clear iridescent is just one single size. And finally, black and white striped washi, because you know I love me some black and white stripes. So I quickly wanted to show you this color palette that I put together that inspired all of the cards I made with the May 2018 release. And down here I have some clean color real brush markers that coordinate with the color palette of inks that I chose. So I'm starting out with my Mondo Sakura. I've inked it up in the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I'm stamping it onto some Essentials by Elle linen cardstock. And I am stamping it to where it kind of overlays on the corner. And what I've done here is I've just rotated my cardstock 180 degrees, and I'm going to stamp it again. So it's going to be in the same place on both of those corners there. Now this ink is a pigment ink, so it does take a little bit longer to dry. It is a faster drying pigment ink than most pigment inks, but I am going to go ahead and hit it with my heat tool before I proceed on to the next step so that I don't smear any of that ink when I lay this die on top. Now this die here is the Avery Wonky Squares die. It's part of a set, and this particular die cuts only stitching lines that are kind of wonky. And you can see there, I used the reference points on those flowers to make sure I have it lined up. And then I also used a piece of clear acetate that I have some lines drawn on just to make sure that I have that centered up. And then I can go ahead and run it through my die cut machine. And you can see when I remove the die here, I just have those wonky square stitched lines on my card front. And I love the way that that die allowed me to add a little bit of detail to the card front and go right over those stamped images, but not take away from those stamped images in any way. So you can see here, I've taken the Block Alpha and I've die cut it from some gold cardstock. I actually did 2 layers at once, and I left my alphabet all like together. I didn't cut it apart because I thought that that was the easiest way to use it in this particular instance. So what I want to do is spell out the word beautiful, and I want to make sure that I'm able to place these die cuts onto my card front like straight, right? I don't want them to be all crooked. And I cannot find my T-square ruler. So I put this back into my Misty, and I'm using my Misty Creative Corners and this little L piece to kind of make sure that I can line all of these die cuts up. And I've put some foam adhesive along the back, and you saw me there, I kind of laid them out to begin with, and I kind of found where my little L piece there would end on the measurements there on the right side of my Misty. Does this make any sense at all? I don't know. But I kind of found out each of the measurements that I needed, so I can go ahead and add my first line, and I added the two outside ones first, and then I added the one in the middle. And then I moved that little L or corner piece down to the next measurement. It was about an inch down from there, and then I could add my next row of letters. So I have the next 3 letters here, and you can do this, by the way, with any 9-letter word. I was only able to come up with 2 9-letter words, but if you know some 9-letter words that would work for this card, leave them in the comments below, because I'd really love to figure out some more cards. I would have made more cards, but I could not figure out another 9-letter word. So you'll see the other one coming up here in just a bit. And I'm finishing off that 3rd row. And before I pressed everything down really good, I went ahead and just made sure I pulled that corner piece off, made sure everything looked good, and then I pressed it all down. Now for my card base, I'm also using the Essentials by Ellen linen cardstock, and I am going to create an ombre card base. I'm just adding a little bit of ombre inking along the left-hand side of this card. And I'm using 2 colors from Altenew to do this, and I'm taking the ink pad directly to the paper. So I'm using Pink Pearl and Coral Bliss, and you can see I added the Pink Pearl about 2/3 of the way down, and now I'm adding the Coral Bliss. Now it looks like a hot mess. It really does, but I promise it dries back beautifully. But there were a couple of little areas where there was some white showing through, so I took one of these Nouveau sponges, it's a blending sponge, and I kind of sponged some of the ink right over the top. Now I could have gone a little heavier handed with the ink pad, but the ink was getting so dark and it wasn't keeping its true color. So I decided that blending on with a little sponge was the best way to kind of fill in a couple of the gaps that I had and really blend these 2 colors together there in the middle. And you can really do this with any 2 colors of ink and create an ombre effect. I love the way that this dried back. You can see when I place the card front over the front of this, it looks absolutely beautiful, and it almost has a neon quality to it. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the same technique and create just a strip of paper that you could add to your card front, but I did it along the edge of that card base there, and I think it's a really cool effect, especially with all the black and the white that I have going on this card front. I love that there's a little pop of color there on the left-hand side. So I've gone ahead and stamped and heat embossed in gold this little sub-sentiment that says "You really are." It's this beautiful scripty font, and I just absolutely love it. And I heat embossed that on some vellum, and I'm going to add it right above that beautiful sentiment. And I did use some foam adhesive for that. Because I'm placing this onto a white card base, you really cannot see the foam adhesive through, since it's kind of like that white on white effect. If this card front was colored in any way, it would be a little more obvious. So you might want to use like a clear foam instead. To finish off my card, I just used a piece of this HAI gold foil dotted washi right there along that card base, just to add a little more pop of gold. And I'm adding my card front to my card base using foam adhesive. And you can see I'm just lining it up using the work surface and my hands, making sure that those are all lined up, and that completes my card. You can see I made a second one here that says "You really are marvelous," and I love that word as well. And I would have totally kept going with this card design and made even more, but I ran out of ideas for 9-letter words. So if you have any ideas for 9-letter words, let me know in the comments below. So there you have it, a couple of cards featuring some beautiful new products from the Essentials by Ellen line. I love the way that that floral image can really be used as this bold graphic kind of element. You don't always have to color stuff like that. And I love the way that these block letters lined up in the middle to create this really beautiful effect as well. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there, I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies used in these projects. Over at my blog, I'll also have a few photos of some other projects that I created using this new Essentials by Ellen May 2018 release, so be sure you hop on over there to check those out, and I will give you a little sneak peek of those coming up here in just a moment. Thanks for stopping by today. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed these projects. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of my card making and paper crafting video tutorials here on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you stopping by. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are totally my favorite. If you want to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and hit that button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.